Welcome to the deep dive. Today we're really getting into something profound. It's a story of discovery, survival, and a really difficult ethical problem. It's often called the meatball paradox. We're pulling this together from quite a few interesting sources, actually. There's one document in particular that details the initial contact and everything that unfolded afterwards. Kind of shocking, really. So our mission here is to unpack how humanity, when we were basically, right on the edge, found this completely unexpected salvation, but also how that salvation forced us into asking some fundamental questions about what winning actually looks like for us. And I'm joined today by our expert who's brilliant at connecting these dots and giving us that deeper context.
It's great to be here. And this story, it really does make you stop and think, doesn't it? About progress, about morality, the whole thing.
That reevaluation, yeah, that's absolutely key. So let's take everyone back 10 years ago. Let's really set the scene because Earth was desperate. Reading about it, you can almost feel that sense of doom hanging over everything. Power wasn't really a thing for most people. The land was just barren. Food was a story. Humanity was genuinely staring down extinction. And there were no solutions. None on the table.
That's exactly it. It was the stark reality. We were facing the end. Global systems completely collapsed, resources gone, and the planet itself was just buckling under centuries of damage we hadn't dealt with. We'd sort of backed ourselves into a corner we couldn't get out of. There was this feeling, that our demise was just inevitable.
And then right at that moment, when everyone's bracing for the worst, something completely bizarre happens, almost miraculous, you could say. These things start falling from the sky in meteorites, carrying aliens, the weirdest aliens imaginable.
Uh-huh. The name Meatball stuck almost immediately, and you can see why. I just picture these reddish, fleshy, round things covered in eyes, and just everywhere, eyes falling out of the sky. Nothing like anything we'd ever conceived of. But the truly strange part, they weren't hostile. They actually seemed friendly.
Right. And the way they communicated is even stranger. No words. People just felt their messages telepathically. Can you imagine that first contact? Just feeling these thoughts appear in your head. And that's how they told us, right? They weren't here to conquer. They were refugees. Their ship had crashed. They were just trying to survive, same as us.
It was an incredible way to start things off, really. Created this immediate sense of shared vulnerability. Humans were desperate. Cook them in. And the meatballs, they seemed genuinely happy to help in return.
So those first days, it looked perfect, like a miracle symbiosis. But I wonder, looking back at the forces, did anyone sense, even then, that this path might lead somewhere complicated? What did we learn about them initially, besides just being, not hostile?
Well, the first huge thing we discovered was their metabolism. It was astonishing. They had this incredible ability to eat, literally consume what we considered our worst waste products, pollution, toxic sludge, even radioactive material. That was their food. So just by eating, they started cleaning up the planet. They were solving problems that spent centuries failing to fix.
For humanity, that must have felt like, well, a dream come true, and cover it. A cleanup crew falling from the sky, eating our mistakes. And it's amazing how quickly we accepted it, isn't it? When you're facing extinction, you get pragmatic fast. For them, survival. For us, salvation. But then things shifted about 3 years in, right? That's when we found out something else. It's that their biology.
Yes, that was the real turning point. Discovering their incredible regenerative abilities.
Ah, yes. Which leads us to the really disturbing part. What became known as the delicacy. How did that happen? How did we go from symbiosis to that?
It's horrifying. No other word for it. The sources suggest maybe it started by accident. Or maybe someone starving just tried it. But people figured out you could cut off pieces of their flesh. And not only did it grow back almost instantly, but eating it gave people these massive energy boosts, sometimes even like superhuman abilities in rare cases. But here's the absolute ethical nightmare. We knew through the telepathy, we knew they felt pain. It wasn't guesswork. We felt their suffering directly. And we did it anyway.
Wow. And it wasn't just individuals, was it? The military, the scientists, they saw the potential almost immediately. It wasn't just a weird food source.
Exactly. They realized this flesh was a resource, less energy potential, powering devices, and even incredibly rebuilding human bodies, fixing us from the inside out.
Which brings us to maybe the most controversial use, the life extension, physical repair. How did that work, according to the sources? And what was the immediate cost?
That was the ultimate application, you could say. You could replace a damaged organ, maybe a lost limb, with meatball flesh. Your mind, your consciousness stayed the same. But the new part was alien tissue with all its regenerative power, sometimes more. But the cost, it was horrific. To do this, you had to essentially sacrifice a meatball. And the sources are clear. Anesthetics didn't work on them. Pain was constant, immense. And again, we could feel it through the telepathy. It's a level of agony that's hard to even conceive of. And yet, it became the foundation of our recovery, our so-called golden age. What does that say about us?
So now, 10 years on from when they first arrived, the sources paint a pretty grim picture of where the meatballs are now. None left in the wild.
That's the tragic endpoint. The demand just grew too large for the energy, for the healing. So, yeah, every single one was captured. They're not refugees anymore, they're resources. Housed in these enormous facilities, wires attached, power being extracted constantly. They are essentially living, suffering power plants, regenerating constantly, being harvested constantly. It's chillingly efficient in a way.
A testament to human ingenuity, maybe, or someone else.
Or ruthlessness, perhaps.
So on the surface, it looks perfect. We dump our trash on them, literally, and they power everything. A sustainable utopia. But anyone listening to this, you're already thinking, okay, what's the real cost here, the profound cost? It is just a staggering paradox, isn't it? This new golden age we're living in, built directly on the nonstop suffering of the very beings who came to us for help, refugees.
It's profoundly disturbing, and it forces us, I think, to ask that ultimate question. Are we really winning? Can you call it winning when your survival depends on systematically inflicting agony on another sentient species? We got our salvation, sure, but we might have sacrificed our empathy, our humanity maybe, to get it.
It really makes you think about the actual price of convenience, of progress, what lines get crossed when you're truly desperate. Something for all of you listening to consider, maybe, not just about this story, but about our own world. How far would you go? And what or who would be the price?